Ever since they could remember, brothers Ethan and Luke shared the same small bedroom at the end of a narrow hallway in their quiet suburban home. Ethan was 10, brave, loud, and always trying to act older than he was. Luke was 8, thoughtful, sensitive, and the kind of kid who noticed things others didn't. And both of them had heard the footsteps. They came almost every night, just after midnight. A slow, steady thump, 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 across the old wooden floorboards. The steps would start near the back of the house, creep toward their door, stop, and then fade away again, only to return minutes later, back and forth, like someone pacing. Their parents said it was the house settling, the wind, maybe even the water heater knocking. But Ethan and Luke knew better. Sometimes, the footsteps were joined by soft tapping on the washing machine in the laundry room, like fingers drumming in thought. Other times, the boys would hear breathing, low and raspy, just outside their door. But the door never opened, not until one night. It was the first cold snap of the year. The boys had pulled their blankets up tight, and the only light in the room was the dim orange glow from a Spider-Man nightlight in the corner. The hallway was pitch black. At exactly 12:17 a.m., Luke would always remember the clock. Ethan sat bolt upright in bed. "What's wrong?" Luke whispered. Ethan didn't answer. He just stared at the door. The footsteps had returned, but they were different this time. Heavier, slower, as if each one was dragged out longer than the last. Thump, pause. Thump. Then, the door handle twitched. Luke sat up too. Both boys held their breath as the doorknob turned, and with a long, aching creak, the door began to open. Not all the way, just enough. And then they saw it. A figure, not flesh and blood, not even shadow. It looked like a man, tall and thin, outlined in a glowing, silvery light, as if someone had drawn his shape in chalk and peeled him off the sidewalk. His face had no features, just the faint impression of a smile. Not wicked, not kind, just there. He stood 3 feet inside their room and didn't move. Ethan gripped the edge of his blanket. Luke didn't blink. They couldn't scream, couldn't speak, couldn't look away. The figure remained there, still and silent, for what felt like an hour, but was likely no more than a minute. Then, without a word or sound, he turned around, walked out into the hallway, and closed the door behind him. The boys sat in stunned silence, listening as the footsteps slowly faded away, one by one, into the dark. They didn't sleep that night. In fact, they barely spoke of it after that, not for years. Whenever the footsteps came back, they kept their eyes shut tight and their minds on anything else. Eventually, the sounds grew less frequent. Then they stopped altogether. Time passed. The boys grew older, moved into their own rooms. Life moved on. Then one rainy afternoon, when Ethan was nearly 15, he came home from school to find Luke in the garage, digging through an old box of neighborhood history their dad had picked up at a yard sale. He waved him over. "Ethan," Luke said, pale and serious, "you need to see this." Inside the box was a faded newspaper clipping, yellowed with age, but still legible. Local man dies in tragic house fire. October 4th, 1956, the article described a fire that had destroyed a small home decades ago, right on the property where their house now stood. The cause was unknown, but the victim had been identified. Harold Jameson, 68, a retired school teacher known for his kindness and his fondness for neighborhood children. He died right here, Luke whispered, right under our room. They sat in silence for a long time. Later that night, just before turning out the lights, Ethan stood at the threshold of their old shared room. The same door, the same hallway. He placed his hand on the knob and paused, and in the stillness, he whispered, "Good night, Mr. Jameson." From somewhere deep in the walls, a faint tap, tap, tap echoed in return. Not threatening, just familiar, like the quiet footsteps of someone still watching over them.